Hello, everyone. I am Amy Dunnigan. I'm an assistant professor of history at Kennesaw State University in Georgia. And I'm going to be speaking today about serendipity in and beyond the archive. So to begin with a little story, on my last research trip before the pandemic made such things impossible for a while, I called up a box of randomly organized 18th century sheet music, looking for anything from just the earliest years of the century, because that was what might be relevant for my book project. And as I skimmed, I noticed a British theatrical song from the 1770s, so far later in the century, that had the refrain, "Give me death or liberty," repeated multiple times. And so I thought, oh, that's cool. Patrick Henry's line made it into a theatrical prelude on the other side of the Atlantic pretty quickly. So curious, I did a bit more digging and soon discovered that the chronology was actually the other way around. The song text predated the Henry speech by several months. Even more enticingly, it had been printed in a magazine that circulated widely in the colonies and that Henry would have been reasonably likely to encounter within a few weeks of his speech. So although it had nothing to do with my book research, my fortuitous but entirely accidental discovery of this now obscure song text resulted in a couple of conference papers and even a forthcoming publication in Early American Studies. Most researchers, I think, can point to a paper or article that they never intended to write, one that resulted from a serendipitous find in an archive during research for something else entirely. This archival serendipity is one of the most fruitful, not to mention most fun, aspects of archival research. The unexpected avenues pursued only because we stumbled upon interesting material in an adjacent shelf mark, or because a skilled archivist pointed us toward a dusty box we'd never have found on our own. Much of this serendipity seems to be lost as we conduct more and more of our research online using digitized source databases. So in this brief talk, I just want to explore a few strategies that I've used to try to achieve serendipity, both in the archive and in digital primary source research, especially when in-person research is impossible, whether due to funding constraints or the COVID-19 pandemic. So my first bullet point I've called exploiting the keyword search. And just to start this one off, I will say thank goodness for text recognition. I think one of the highest yield ways to achieve serendipitous discoveries beyond the archive is by identifying surprising hits from keyword searches in digital printed primary source databases. One way to improve the chances of finding something exciting is to get really creative with keyword selection. With the advent of fully searchable databases, we can afford to be profligate with our lists of keywords. Although keyword searches are more likely to turn up large quantities of truly irrelevant items, they also increase the chances of delivering obscure sources of great relevance to our interests, items missing from the footnotes of the secondary literature that nevertheless illustrate a point perfectly or enrich our understanding of a topic. A second avenue for achieving serendipitous finds, I have called following the personalities. So this really works in the archive or behind our computer screens. And it means to allow ourselves to be captivated by intriguing historical actors and to follow their archival trails wherever they might lead. An individual we encounter only because of her limited connection with, say, an institution we are researching, but whose letters or recorded actions cause us to feel surprised or disgusted or amused. Such an individual is likely to be as interesting in other contexts as in the one we were intending to study in the first place. Occasionally, following the trail of an individual through the written record of her life can lead to rewarding side projects or shape the original project in surprising ways. Finally, in both traditional archival digital research, the key to serendipitous finds is just allowing ourselves to cave to our sense of curiosity. Even when conducting digital research, when we're unhindered by an archive's hours of operation or the excruciating brevity of even the longest research trips, our time is our most precious resource, and we all feel the urge not to waste it. It often seems sensible or even imperative that we put our blinders on and look only at items that fall within the specific research parameters we've set for ourselves for a specific project, whether chronological, geographical, thematic, or otherwise. But in denying ourselves the chance to waste time by following our noses down unlikely paths, we also deny ourselves one of the great joys of research and perhaps an unexpected publication or two along the way. Thank you very much.